big business and big government always end up fucking each other, essentially.
We come back to our beginning. It all comes around to a circle jerk. What jerks around comes around. Oh my God. That's my favorite joke
That was good.
I've
That was
ever
good.
told. My soul just left my body.
Can you sing it in the Justin Timberlake way?
I don't know.
What jerks around.
And then it comes back around. Welcome back, ladies and turkey germs.
I thought you were going to say turkey jerks. Hey, turkey jerks. How's it going?
That sounds like circle jerk.
I know. This is a great way to open the episode. Hi, Kaylee.
Hello, Kayla. I'm making this a tradition that I try to come up with something sort of on theme, but sort of to freak you out every time.
It's working really well.
Oh, man. I'm really excited about it. I want to start off by saying that a YouTuber told me that my mouth and teeth looked like AI, and I don't know what that means. But it is all I can think about right now, so I will try to stop looking at my own mouth.
Now I'm looking at it.
How does a mouth look like AI?
Maybe if your words weren't matching your mouth, but that's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting listener feedback. But anyway, what we are really talking about this week is don't tread on me. Stop telling me what to do. Stop managing my safety. People have the right to be an idiot. I had originally written down California banning food, but then I went and did more research and realized that I'm guilty of reading a headline and not the whole article. So I actually learned more about that. And now I have mixed feelings that I want to ask you about.
Oh, can't wait to talk about that.
This has just been percolating in our side conversation. So we decided just to hit record and talk about it. But I don't know. Do you have an initial opening thought, or should we just dive in?
When you first brought up the topic to me, I was thinking immediately my brain went to, you don't know me. But that goes along with it, but I think it's deeper than that, because it's, everyone's got their opinions these days and everyone wants to be in everyone's business. And I just feel like we just need to let go and let people live. It's what I keep saying, live and let live, man. Just don't get in my business. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me how to live. Don't make me live a certain way, or else it's just going to piss me off. So that's my opening thoughts.
I think you nailed it on right upon the head. I'm struggling with is it ever not election season of some kind? It feels like there's always someone campaigning for something, but I don't know why it's just been so much in my sight lately, because it's really not stuff I try to engage with my brain. But I feel like the people that are telling me that I have rights, okay, I'm just going to call them left and righties. Here's my perception of what's happening. I feel like the lefties are telling me that they care about my rights, but then they are trying to force me to do some behaviors. And then I feel like the righties are telling me that they're obsessed with self-determination, but then I feel like they also want to moderate people's behaviors. So then I feel like I'm just stuck here in the middle, wondering when did it become so cool to keep telling people what to do? And I would like to run for office on the premise of, you leave me alone, I leave you alone. You are nice to people, I'll be nice to you. If you don't hurt people, I don't care what you're doing. And let's just leave everybody alone.
I agree 1,000%. I think you should run for office, because I don't know for you. Me and 5 other people maybe 10, 20 other people would vote for you. No, seriously, it's this weird thing. And what I have a problem with, and this may be going off on a tangent, so apologies if I'm going in an off direction, but if you have an opinion about one thing, you are automatically put in the left or right camp, whatever. Whereas I hate that, honestly. Don't put me in a box. Don't label me. Um, at the end of the day, I think the government needs to not try to tell people what to do in all aspects of life. That is an all inclusive statement. So that's my bottom line. I don't want people to tell me how to live my life. If we have a set, moral code and here's the things we suggest you do, great. But you can't control people, and trying to force people to do one thing or the other just doesn't make any sense to me.
Mm-mm. It's like coercion through social pressure.
Yeah, dude. That's a good way to put it.
I don't know what to do with it. And then it leaves me in this weird bubble where I'm just angry. And then here's the flip side argument. And this is what I was going to ask you about that I'm struggling with. So the California food ban, the way that I initially understood it is I thought that they were banning food. Turns out they're banning certain ingredients in food because they're harmful to people. And companies apparently just can't be bothered to like do the right thing. That's where I really struggle with like government oversight, because in the article I was reading, I guess some of these ingredients are banned already in Europe. So these companies are making the same products and selling them in Europe to those standards without harmful ingredients. But because the US doesn't regulate it and it's cheaper, they're giving us the shittier stuff. So that's where I also have a problem with. I obviously don't believe in like complete anarchy. Like you have to have structure, because if left to their own devices, I just think most people would run amok. But can you like focus the telling people what to do to the companies and then leave me alone?
Oh my god. I know. It's here's the whole problem with everything, because yes, I'm on the same page. When I originally saw that, I was like, "Oh my god. California, like literally you can't buy Skittles there anymore." But when you read into it, it's like, no, they're basically forcing the hand of that company to provide them with the kind of Skittles that doesn't have all that crap in it, which I'm 100% for, because I don't think that's a whole different tangent. All the poison crap in our food system right now is awful. And typically, I don't feel like the US does a good job in making those better or holding companies to a higher standard. But I agree. Go to the corporations who have the power to adjust things and change things versus coming down on the people. But the problem comes in because there's corruption and everything, and big business and big government always end up fucking each other, essentially.
We come back to our beginning. It all comes around to a circle jerk. What jerks around comes around. Oh my god, that's my favorite joke.
That was good. That was
ever
good.
told. My soul just left my body.
Can you sing it in the Justin Timberlake way?
I don't know.
What jerks around, jerks around.
And then it comes back around.
Favorite thing in the whole world just now.
I want someone to make a cartoon. Okay, I have another devil's advocate problem though.
Okay. Lay it.
What if the government didn't tell people not to make their shitty Skittles, and people just quit buying so many Skittles? So then the companies were forced via supply and demand to stop making the shitty Skittles.
See,
but then but then it's like who has access to that information? And then when we boil this down to like the essential foods of the food group, and then what's the cheapest food to buy, it's like Wonder Bread. I mean, except for buying like dried beans and rice, which I understand people would not want to live off of that. But then if you have like EBT, if you have food stamps, and you have to make $30 go as far as $30 can go, you're going to have to buy the
Mm-hmm.
shitty food. So you don't really have the purchase power to try to impact the companies. So then does the government have to step in on that? It's so complicated.
It's just like taxes. They're just reaming us one way or the other. I think the problem also lies in the fact that if you say like, "Hey, just do whatever you want," it's we the people that make these decisions. We should just stop buying the shitty shit. But yes, goes like definitely there is a financial privilege in a lot of these cases. But even if you boil it down to like simple things like fruit or vegetables, you would think that's a pretty straightforward thing, but then you have government putting their hands into regulating like GMO and organic versus not organic. Like it just is so complicated. It just really sucks. That's why
It
I feel like
does.
we just need to buy some land and start a little farm and
Have
share
a
our breast
co-op.
milk and yeah.
The millennial urge should like start a co-op with friends. I keep seeing that everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's so confusing. It comes back to again, I'm just struggling. That's what we're doing here is asking questions, but I, I for sure know I don't want to be told what to do. But I and the individual shouldn't have to be told what to do.
Mm-mm.
If you're not hurting other people, that's always the caveat, obviously. I just am struggling though with what is the government's role in regulation, and then at what level does that start to happen, and what's their responsibility to look after citizens, and what's our responsibility to look after ourselves. I feel like some of that stuff has gotten kind of skewed where they feel like everything's this whole like greater good, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if it's adjustments. I don't know if it's just that we got really lucky with our education, but I remember having whole conversations in classrooms about you can have freedom or you can have security, and every time you have more freedom you have less security, and every time you have more security you have less freedom. I don't feel like that concept is in the awareness of your average person.
Or they just think security is number one. Fuck the freedom, you know?
And I don't get why people don't have the understanding. Maybe this is a bit of a blessing of my old job and having just the smallest sense of education of what case law is and like what the law means. So you set a precedent and then it becomes the precedent for future cases and for future lawmaking. It's great when it's something you agree with, but people don't often realize that it could open the door to other shit. I think it's not an example of a negative, it is a positive. But originally, when they were arguing before the Supreme Court for women's equality,
Mm-hmm.
they knew that an all male Supreme Court was not likely to give much of a fuck about women's issues. So
Mm-hmm.
they argued that gender couldn't be used for discrimination, and they did it. What they presented, what they sued, was a case where a male was discriminated against based upon his gender. So they won that gender discrimination was wrong, but they did it in a palatable way. It ended up being great because then it can get applied to women and
Mm-hmm.
not being discriminated against based on gender. But I don't think people realize if you censor speech or if you set the precedent of controlling what people do, you're also opening the door for them to censor speech of something maybe you believe in. Like it's a broader it's like comfortable for you because you agree with them, but do you not understand that it opens the gateway for a lot of other things? And what happens if the people in charge are no longer the people that you align with?
Exactly. It's scary because if you agree with something now, you're all for maybe censoring things that you don't agree with. But what happens when that path continues and it gets even wider and wider and one day they're going to be saying things that you don't agree with and now you're being censored. It like history, it fluctuates so much. What's that word I'm trying to figure out? We also in our education learned about there's a word about everything is for the greater good. Maybe
Self
I'll just keep.
determination.
No, it's like a not a theory, a philosophy. It's like you either are altruistic or something else. You know what I'm talking about? Hold on, I'll Google, because
Gook.
that reminds me. Geek. I don't even know how to spell that.
I mean, who is it? You mean the philosopher that's like everything's shit and everything's garbage?
No,
Okay.
I mean, well, keep going. I'll come back to it if I can figure this out.
Okay. Anyway, we're obviously not going to solve this question here, but it's just interesting. It is an interesting thing that I'm noticing. Everyone's kind of, not everyone, a lot of people are talking about censorship on social media. And, I'm frustrated because I think everybody should have the right to say what they believe in, even if I disagree with it. So, like, you could be a horrible piece of human garbage and have ridiculous beliefs. And I think that you should be allowed to have them. I wish you wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't understand people who are like, okay, well, if you block them from having those beliefs on Instagram, you think they just went away? Like, oh, well, Instagram wouldn't let me post that, so I'm going to change my mind. It's like, no, they go into 4chan or Reddit or subreddits or probably other places that I don't know about because it's been a while since I was involved in like reading nerdy things about what happens in other corners of the internet. The naivety of that is ridiculous to me, to think that when has silencing somebody ever changed their mind? Like, the only times that I'm aware of people changing is when they open a discourse, and you can't do that when you start sectioning people off.
I think it does way more good to keep the conversation open, because of course the internet is stupid and people are going to fight and argue over the dumbest things in the comments or on, forums or whatever it is. But how many times can someone be open up to a new conversation or a new idea or a new thought and actually have a change of mind, or be like, oh, okay, I actually am open to this, I need to learn more. But you can't have that in either direction if it's closed. And that's the problem that I think we're forgetting. It's like, this is the right way. You can only think this way. If you don't think this way, then you're bad and you have to stop talking. And we don't want to listen to you. But historically, that always ends in a dangerous path, and it's going to affect those same people later on with something else. It just always bounces back and forth.
Yeah, it's true. And who decides? I think that's what's so alarming to me. It's like, if you're part of the larger, whatever the in style culture is, it's fine and dandy, but I don't understand the inability of people to look at it and be like, I wouldn't want someone to censor me. Why would I censor somebody else? I understand
Mm-hmm.
there's laws. So, there is a point, and I don't know how you determine it, but there is a point where like ugly speech, potentially hate speech, turns into a call to action for violence, where it
Yep.
crosses a line and becomes a problem, or where something goes from being rude and mean and insensitive to a threat. Again, those are things that I'm glad I don't have to deal with lawmaking on. Excuse me, because I don't know how you do it. But I come back to my same philosophy. Like, the hill that I will die on will be someone's right to self determination and to make their own decisions without influence.
Yes. Don't tell me what to do with my body. Uh, there's a prime example. I don't know if we want to get into it, but my body, my choice in all aspects.
In all aspects, if you are gonna die on the hill of like believing women and standing up for women who don't want a penis in their vagina, but you can shove a needle in my arm, I don't get it. Why do you get to insert something into my body that I don't want there? Like, no means no, except if the someone doing it has a lab coat and what it is a needle. I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
use the V word.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah,
just
don't.
doesn't make sense.
It
And
just
like,
is hypocritical.
it's so and it's illogical. Like, my body, my choice. If I don't want you to regulate decisions that I can make about my birth control
Mm-hmm.
or my access to plan B. There's a Catholic hospital in our area that doesn't believe in IUDs, so they refuse to insert them.
Wow.
But I can't. It drives me absolutely insane. And my new favorite saying that I did not invent is people are allowed to be idiots. People are
Oh
allowed to
yeah.
be idiots. They can be absolute just fucking lunatics if they want to. I mean, I think that you have to rule out education and like an actual cognitive deficit. But if somebody legitimately wants to choose to take their entire paycheck and eat cotton candy and shove marbles up their butt, I think they should be allowed.
That was so random and I love it. I agree. Like, again, the people, you have free will to do what you want, again, as long as you're not hurting anyone else. So if you make quote unquote dumb decisions, that's on you. you know? Or if you make decisions that you feel are the best and maybe someone just disagrees with them, again, there are millions and millions and millions of people in this world that have very different viewpoints. Even you and me, who have known each other for what, 15 years, very similar, like minded stuff, we still don't have the same perspective on everything. Our lives have taken us into separate directions, and we've had different life experiences to make us decide certain things. So it's like, it's okay to do that.
Yeah.
But also, don't I don't want the government to tell me what I have to do.
No, leave me alone.
Stay
Leave
away.
me alone. If somebody wants to, like, I don't know, do you like use a strap on with their wiener and get into like some DP action? I don't care. If that's what you want to do, double penetration. If that's what
Okay.
you want to do with your Friday night, have at it. Will I be joining you? Fuck no. But if you're with another consenting adult, you'll have fun. Y'all like get into poopy play or have feet fetishes or eat bread and butter pickles. I think it's fucking disgusting. Buy a Hummer or a fucking PT Cruiser. Like, I might have a judgy opinion about it, but I think you should be able to, wear white socks and whitey tighties if that's what you're into.
hmm
What are we doing?
We're in a time, I feel like, where we don't have, well, this sounds a little, to some people, I feel like this sounds dumb and ignorant, but there wasn't, or there isn't, an imminent threat to our lives on a daily basis. And I feel like people just try to find the fear and threat in things in our everyday lives and just make up stuff to make our lives harder because it's not very hard right now. Generally, if you look back historically.
It's not physically, we don't have to physically labor and get like physically worn out.
Mm-hmm.
So we're wearing each other out mentally all the time.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it feels like so much is just, again, it's this whole for the greater good philosophy or in the scope of safety or, because of security.
mm-hmm.
And I feel like so much of that is not really, I don't know how much of that is real or not, but I go back to being frustrated by spending money on ways to like regulate people or to require more of people instead of giving people more opportunities for education
Mm-hmm.
or if you're going to want certain behaviors out of people, could you just provide them? That's the problem. Like, I don't know how you provide unbiased education. Like, you have to have oversight for certain things, again, because people will run amok. Like, under no circumstances am I calling for like a cease to law and order or
Right. No.
law enforcement or anything of that nature. But
It's a hard topic. It just isn't. It could be better, and people could just always take the moral and ethical high road, but that doesn't happen, and that's not realistic, and that's the hard part. And
yeah,
people with power and money have so much influence that it's really hard to change.
And I think I think maybe it's like my American is showing, but I like that we were founded by imperfect people, but I think with like the right idea of personal freedom and we the people and the collective having uh basically like more power than the small government because of our numbers compared to their numbers. But our government has grown in size so much, and the amount of things that our federal government has their fingers in is unbelievable. And I just don't know. And then you get into the private sector with social media and all of, and again, going back to censorship, and then just people as a whole
Mm-hmm.
wanting everybody to behave the same way, or I can't get along with this person if we're from different political ideations. It's like the spice of life is variety.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, who wants to have a crayon box of all red crayons? You're not going to be able to draw anything but blood.
True. No, I like how you said it. Like I don't think the founding fathers got the equality and freedom of the people right, but they did indicate the separation between the people and the government, and I think
And
that's
the
the thing that
church.
exactly. Yep.
And then what bothers me is it's like the problem with the church that they were trying to separate from was the church as like a government structure imposing its morality upon the people. And it's like, but we're back. Well, it's like we're back to doing that again, except that it's not the church in the way that it was in the 1700s. It's the morality of like the collective conscious of the people that they're trying to push on everybody else.
That sentence wraps up everything we just said. Yes, agreed, 1000%. I don't know how else to say it.
I don't either. Give people the access to information and then leave them the fuck alone. I will forever die on the hill if you can be an idiot. You can be just an absolute fucking idiot if that's what you want to do with your life. If you want to raise like snakes in your backyard and you want to go swimming with alligators and then you want to record yourself catching sharks with your bare hands in the Gulf of Mexico, fuck, go for it. I hope you have money to pay for your hospital bill because I don't think that should be my job. But when did it become everyone else's responsibility to police everybody else? I'm not talking about adults.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not your
I know.
fucking mother. Like,
Yep.
do you want to lose an arm? Because I literally watched a man like chase a shark down the beach one time when someone else was trying to reel it in and he was out there like trying to help the guy catch it. He already
God.
had one missing leg.
No, 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 no,
His
no.
real flesh leg was the one that was by the mouth of the shark that was
No, 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 no.
like, I don't think this is the man that's made great choices in his life. But by God, if he wants to keep at it and that's what makes him happy, okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. If you want to eat manwich every night and microwave a burrito for lunch every afternoon, that's fine. But I don't necessarily think that I should have to pay for your bad decisions either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Uh, this feels like a very. If we were getting paid for this podcast, we would not be making money on this episode. Demonetized. But honestly, it's not a bash on. It kind of is, but I wish we would just get back to let the people live, be safe with others, but do whatever you want to do. You know, I think we've lost. I think you're right. I think it all comes down to the collective consciousness putting this moral pressure out there, and if you don't follow it exactly, you are the devil.
Right? You're possessed by Satan, except in this case, Satan wears a red hat. I don't know. It's a weird
time to be alive.
it's a weird thing. I think people are people and people always do the same shit. it's interesting to watch like how it squirts out in every generation in its own special and fun little way. But it seems as though the people who want to stand up and wave a flag of diversity don't want there to be diversity of thought. They just want a diversity in the look of the people that are standing in front of them, but they expect all of their brains to have the same wavelengths. And that shit pisses me off.
You just said it again. I don't know. I can't add anything to that. That's the perfect way to sum it up. Seriously.
It's the hypocrisy. That's the seed and the nugget in the middle of everything that I know you and I constantly talk about and like struggle over and gnaw on is the hypocrisy.
Yeah, it grinds my gears, man. It's with everything. That's always what it comes down to. You can't have two opposing thoughts. You always have to pick one, and it's so hypocritical.
You can straddle the fence and both things can be true. And stop contradicting yourself. It's illogical and it's hypocritical. Those are the things I can't tolerate. If we have a difference of opinions, fine. But if your opinion, last thing, and then I'll leave it alone. But if you're going to tell me that you're pro-life and that every child has to be birthed, and then you're going to hop on a bandwagon over the death penalty, you don't value life. You don't, that's not like, you don't get to call yourself pro-life. You can call yourself pro-birth or pro-baby, but the second that that child turns 16 and commits a heinous crime and gets tried in as an adult, you're going to stand up and then wave the flag of the death penalty. That doesn't make any goddamn sense.
It's valid. It's so valid.
I don't have the answer to anything, and this was a general letting off of steam of all of our frustrations. But I think other people have to be feeling this. Maybe that's the question. Is anybody else frustrated? Does anybody else feel the pull? I don't know what the answer is, and the lines get blurry somewhere. But at the end of the day, if we could just value each other for being different and leave each other the fuck alone and stop telling everybody what to do, maybe people would be a little less stressed out.
I agree. Can we try? Should we try it? Can we try it, America? The world? Anybody listening?
I'm trying it. I constantly argue with myself all the day long day with I'll have an opinion and then I ask myself about that opinion. Then I text you about my opinion and ask you if it sounds crazy. Listener feedback. It's good for you.
Oh, I bet we're going to get a lot of listener feedback on this one.
I know I really wanted to start a Triggered Tuesday where I like post shirts that are going to be triggering to people on YouTube. I might have a few like clips to pull from this one.
I think we've got some clips to pull for sure. I love it.
I feel like we got a real good way of pissing everybody off. Well, listen, people, how are you feeling? Did this bother you? Do you feel triggered? Please tell us about it.
Yes, let's continue this conversation.
This will be an ongoing conversation and an ongoing theme, but I'm glad we can talk about it, and I'm glad we can go back and forth and struggle, because just having the conversations and asking the questions and wondering things out loud, I think is therapeutic.
Agreed. And I think it keeps the conversation open, and I think that's healthy.
Me too. And if you guys thought that this was snarky and unbearable, please join us on Saturday for our Poddle episode where we dive into the evil side / dark side of this conversation.
I cannot wait.
Me either. Well, Turkey Tots, we love you, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
And enjoy your turkey jerk. Okay. Turkey jerky? It's like jerky, but it's turkey.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.